Now, among the over 700 journalists accredited to cover South Africa's recently concluded national elections, there was a young, passionate and innovative team that set out to cover the country's sixth democratic elections using popular social networks like WhatsApp, Instagram and YouTube. Dubbed the Sizwe Mpofu Walsh Experience, or simply #SMWX, the team produces a live stream show on WhatsApp that focuses on the intersection of politics and popular culture, seeking to connect with young people in a way that mainstream media have reportedly failed to do. Ruth.
Social media networks played a huge role in the South African elections, and thanks to the #SMWX, internet users were able to follow the counting of votes, often with music, live with interviews with the various actors. Did this innovation succeed in creating interest in them? The story has more details.
At 65.9%, voter turnout for South Africa's 2019 national elections was the lowest ever in the country's democratic history. Several factors, including bad weather and frustration with the ruling party, have been cited to explain why several eligible voters stayed away. So what is keeping young South African voters away from the ballot box?
I'm not voting tomorrow because, we're having problems. You know, like when you apply for bursaries, looking for a job, there's nothing happening. So I'm not voting. I don't see the use of voting.
Are you voting tomorrow?
No.
Why aren't you voting?
There's no use of voting.
Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, a political commentator who started a WhatsApp news channel to engage with young people during the elections, believes the dominance of key political positions by older people could be a factor.
I think that the socio-economic conditions in South Africa disproportionately affect young people, and so poverty stops you from voting sometimes. Unemployment makes it harder to vote often for people who have to spend their disposable income on even a journey to vote.
Quick response.
A young Sudanese student who participated in the recent protests that toppled long-serving President Omar al-Bashir was in South Africa as part of the African Union Observer Mission.
They don't like political, I don't know why, but maybe they have the culture that we don't like to be involved in political issue, in political work. They just like to be free. And this make them, maybe they have a gap to understand what the political process.
Nigeria's ex-president Goodluck Jonathan, who led the observer mission of the Electoral Institute for Sustainable Democracy in Africa, believes young people need to be empowered and made to realize that age comes with responsibility.
To be able to penetrate these youth groups and use the youth groups themselves to create that awareness that you must know when you become 18, when you get to the age of 18. That is the age of responsibility, because the age that your vote will decide who becomes the president of your country.
Ultimately, all political stakeholders in South Africa, including political parties and organizations targeting the youth, might need to take on radical approaches like Sizwe's WhatsApp news channel or faster and efficient service delivery to convince young people that voting and political engagements are important.
Our journalist Dino Mumbere there with that report from South Africa on voter apathy there during the recently concluded elections. Now, he did also speak with Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, the political activist, author and rapper, and he took us through the highlights and milestones achieved by this unique approach to covering elections, which we've been talking about. So the first question he asked him was, what does #SMWX hope to achieve?
The next 5 years look like disrupting the South African media space, bringing young people into the center of the conversation, and really challenging an old model which has old elites, which has the same old voices on the same old platforms saying the same old things. We want to completely bypass the infrastructure that has, in our view, biased South African politics away from the issues that affect the young people in our country, and use WhatsApp as a way of virally spreading an informed and a new generation of young people.
And Sizwe was also asked how he would rate the success of this channel on social media networks.
The channel has been going for 2 months, and at the beginning of this process, 2 months ago, as we looked towards the South African election, our big hope was that we could get a network of 5,500 people onto our WhatsApp channel, that we could send instant messages with updates from a youth perspective on South African politics. And within the first 4 hours, we had nearly reached that objective. And right now, as it stands, we have over 12,500 people on our channel.
Mpofu Walsh also spoke about the hashtag SMWX and how it stood out in an election where technology was often used to drive fake news and disinformation. Let's take a listen.
Look, I think that disinformation is a really widespread phenomenon, but there are also incredible ways that you can use technology to inform. And we can't sit back and pretend like we should just let these platforms and these technologies into the hands of the worst while people who actually are trying to inform don't use them. I think the only way we can really start fighting the battle of disinformation is using the very platforms where disinformation happens and seizing back ground to use these platforms for information and for empowerment.